In 1942, Albert Camus wrote one of the punchiest one-liners of the 20th century, which itself captured one of the most enduring philosophical challenges in all of human history. To decide whether life is worth living is to answer the fundamental question of philosophy. Everything else is child's play. We must first of all answer the question. But then, as chance would unfortunately have it, many were robbed of this opportunity to answer this question for themselves. Because it was in 1942, that same year, Camus called attention to the question that more than 1 million humans were captured and taken to Auschwitz. And among these millions who were deemed unworthy to live was the young Viennese psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. He and his family would be taken to a concentration camp before moving to Auschwitz. And after 3 long, grueling years, witnessing his father's death by exhaustion and discovering later the murder of his mother, wife, and brother, he would settle down in Vienna and there return to the heart of Camus' philosophical dilemma. Because, as you can imagine, at that time for Frankl, the issue was more relevant than ever. The question of whether life was worth living or not. His response eventually came in 1946. It was after he compiled and edited a set of his own lectures on moving beyond optimism and pessimism to find the deepest source of meaning. The result was a slender book published in Germany. However, at the time, for whatever reason, the book was overlooked and went out of print shortly after. And in fact, despite Frankl's renown in the US, it was only recently that an English translation came into print under the apt title, Yes to Life, in Spite of Everything. In it, he emphasizes that the impact one has on reality is driven by creative action. Everything depends on the individual human being, regardless of how small a number of like-minded people there is. And everything depends on each person, through action and not mere words, creatively making the meaning of life a reality in his or her own being. To further clarify, he's expressing that the meaning you get from a creative action, like from loving someone or writing a book, that is the primary motivating force in a person's life. Man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life, and not a secondary rationalization of instinctual drives. This meaning is unique and specific in that it must and can be fulfilled by him alone. Only then does it achieve a significance which will satisfy his own will to meaning. From there, seeing how those who actively search for meaning were able to endure tremendous suffering, he encouraged his fellow man to get that motivation, to not give up and not be a quitter, no matter how bad you want to just fall flat on your face. No, but seriously, this was his approach as a therapist, and he called it logotherapy, which literally means therapy through meaning. And what's interesting is that when it came to asking about the question of meaning, he thought that many people always ask the question wrong. And even today, you still hear the same question formed the same incorrect way.
What do you think is the meaning of this whole thing? What's the meaning of life?
Wrong question. You see, to Frankl, asking about what the meaning of life is itself an improper question. Instead, you need to invert it. As he wrote in Yes to Life in Spite of Everything, at this point it would be helpful to make a conceptual turn through 180 degrees, after which the question can no longer be, what can I expect from life? But instead, what does life expect of me? Through this inversion of the question, it is now life asking you the question, what will you do with the life you were given? Which is a clever angle because now, as a consequence of life asking us the question, the responsibility now is on us.
Well, how the turntables.
Elsewhere in the same book, he elaborates that it's our responsibility to affirm life through our responding to its question. Living itself means nothing other than being questioned. Our whole act of being is nothing more than responding to, of being responsible toward, life. He also gets at a crucial point that there is no cookie-cutter answer in responding to life's question, meaning that each answer must be, by nature, a unique response, given that we are all unique individuals with our own unique desires. So in this way, even if a person has a life very similar to another, say as with 2 identical twins or 2 pro figure skaters, it would be foolish for them to look at what the other is doing to find out what they should be doing with their own life. To take it a step even further, Frankl doesn't just mean that our answer to life's questions should be different from other people, but it also applies to the many different selves that we'll embody throughout our lives. Meaning there's no use cheating the question by copying our response we gave to life a day, hour, or even a minute ago, because each moment is arriving with fresh potential. The you who worked as a lawyer yesterday isn't necessarily going to be the you who wants to be a lawyer tomorrow. Instead, it may be that the you tomorrow wants to consider a career change, or even some time off to pursue other passions. So as a final word, I encourage you guys to say yes to life in your own creative way, because according to Frankl, only in doing so do you find the deepest source of meaning in life. Until next time, peace.